With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring a friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month.
Join a club near you. Offer ends November 13th.
See Home Club for details.
And good morning. Welcome to Hoops Brewing. Welcome to the Northland Sports Page. That is not me pushing the buttons today, and that's what happens when my boss, Nick Stoltman, hits the buttons because I got to hear a theme song in round form, and I tried to comment on it. And oh, by the way, Mike's on. Hot Mike.
Hey.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. It is our 7th anniversary Saturday here at the Northland Sports Page. And again, we're at Hoops Brewing. We invite you down to join us. Celebrate 7 years. Dave Cook, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Brian.
Happy 7th. I know we've said this many times before, but during that first show, my hands were shaking so bad I didn't think 7 minutes was possible.
Well,
there were probably times we didn't think 7 months were possible. We've made it 7 years.
Well, and I think that might be the first time you spoke over the intro. Take it from somebody who's done that before, you did well.
Well, again, control freak that is present. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. I usually hit the buttons when we start, but I go to the master of hitting the buttons. And I guess today what you did to start was push my buttons. Nick Stoltman, good morning. And your mic is not working for some reason. I don't think it's plugged all the way in. That could be part of it.
We'll get there. All right. So anyways, Brian, we don't even have a microphone on Nick. He's throwing stuff around.
I was going to say, to think we brought Nick to make this about as technologically solid as we could. We're off to a rip, snort, and start.
Yeah. Hey, you did a nice job of diving into music. I was going to critique you on that because, somebody who has done that more than once.
Yes.
Right?
But you know me, I would never critique you on that.
Right. Well, no, of course
Criticism
not.
of you is not something
not.
I do.
Of course not. No, I was just impressed with how you got in and got out so fast.
Yes.
Like sometimes you get lost in it. I've been there before. But here, you just got in, dabbled in the music a little bit and jumped right back out so that people could hear the greatest opener ever.
Absolutely. You know what they say, pick your spots. So I tried to do that, certainly. Speaking of spots that we have picked, our favorite spot to come down and do live shows, Hoops Brewing. In the 7 years, I've lost track of the number of times we've been here. I know it's more than 7.
More than 7.
Because I'll tell you what, we walk in and they ask me if I want my usual pretty much right away. In fact, the staff here, kudos to them, especially Jen, because my usuals changed over the 7 years. I think she named them all as possibilities.
She did. She tracked them in order, I'm sure. It wasn't just, you like these 4 or 5 beers. She goes, well, when you first got here, you liked this one. And then after a few, then you went to this one. And then, Brian, we couldn't even sell the first one because you liked the third one now. It was really interesting. She's got a memory on her.
It's something with people named Jen who apparently I have the ability to focus on me because shout out to my wife, Jen, as well.
Yes.
Because she brought us some anniversary cupcakes. Half of them gluten-free. That would be your half.
Yeah, can you
and
believe
shout out
that's
to
awesome.
the cupcake lady, the Northland's best of the best in desserts, for providing those today, too.
That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing that Jen brought those and that, I tell you, I never think that I get to eat this stuff because it's never gluten-free, and she brought half of them for me.
Well, and Jen was telling me because she dropped me off here, she said, well, I'll give you a ride, and then I think I'm coming back, but she didn't want to stay because she doesn't feel well today, and I said, well, then why would you come back? And she just kind of got real quiet in the car. And I said, well, seriously, if you don't feel well, go home, get some rest. Why would you come back? Well, it was supposed to be a surprise.
It still could be.
Okay, well, what was? And she said, well, I ordered you cupcakes because we love the cupcake lady. And I even did gluten-free because I want Dave to be able to participate. So
that's pretty awesome.
Jen loves you, too.
Well, that's a plus. That's a good thing. Can you imagine the amount of time you and I spend together if Jen was like, I don't like that guy at all?
Well, I don't know, because we could flip the script and say, what does Dana really think of me?
Oh, Dana's still trying to figure out how to get you and Jen to the house for dinner. That's pretty cool.
There you go. Shout-outs to the family, because 7 years of doing this, it does become a family affair, and today would be no exception because we want the crowd to increase down here at Hoops Brewing. You look at the early risers today, as tired as they may be, in attendance, that would be your family.
Yeah, how about that? Aaron has spent more than enough time with me over the last 3 weeks to think that he wants to come on a Saturday. I guess that's a good thing. And then Avery and Andrew traveled all the way from St. Cloud to hang out with us on the 7th
We are
anniversary.
huge in St. Cloud.
Yes, we
Even
are.
if we didn't know. The Northland Sports Page following in St. Cloud is massive.
They made the trip.
So we appreciate that. Speaking of family, the fan has become our family because in 7 years, we've been in a couple different spots. We've been in a couple different time slots, a couple different studios, what have you. But the fan has made us feel like family. I love that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, just think about the things that we did prior to coming to the fan and the efforts and some of the things we were trying to get done, and we came to the fan, and all of a sudden some of those things came true.
Aren't you glad I let you finish? Because when you started that soliloquy with think of the things we did before the fan, I immediately wanted to interject with no thanks. Because the fan has made life that much easier. I hope Nick Stoltman can talk to us now. We're going to find out because I want to give a thank you to you before we go too much further because, again, making us feel at home, making us feel like family, you've been a big part of that.
And before you jump in, Nick, things not as simple but as cool as, like, the Viking strips. Like, we've got a chance to do those. We never would have done those before without the fans. So, and Nick, since you're the guy with the keys to the car, specifically, thank you.
But he is a guy with an apparently still dysfunctional microphone, and I'm not sure why that would be.
You guys are on the air. That's the important
I was going to say, so the conversations today, as they have been a few times over 7 years, are going to constitute themselves of mainly you and I, Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. We're here with you at Hoops Brewing. We do not want to do this entirely alone today, though, so come on down, have some beer with us. We're going live until noon. We do that each and every Saturday. We can't do any of that without our great sponsors. We've given a lot of thank yous today in the first 6 minutes of the show. Got to thank them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with Mount Royal Bottle Shop. Now, Brian, my understanding is Mount Royal is doing a little something for the entire week. Tell us what it is.
They are. So 7% in honor of our 7th anniversary. 7% off Hoops products all week for Mount Royal Bottle Shop. And again, they've still got their online promo that is Saturday specific. MountRoyalBottleShop.org. Enter the online promo code RADIO, and it's 10% off Hoops products. That's just Saturday, but then they've got 7% off for our 7th anniversary all week. So I do love our sponsors. I also love when they work together. So in conjunction, Hoops Brewing and obviously Mount Royal Bottle Shop, thank you so much for doing what you do.
Oh, 100%. And, I don't know, the amount of stuff that we've done and been fortunate enough to do with Hoops Brewing over the past 7 years is amazing as well.
I've got an idea for that. Let's put Dave on the show a little later.
I think that makes sense to me. I like that. He's kind of a contributor. He's not even a guest anymore. He's just like part of the.
I was going to say he shed the guest title a long time ago. He's upgraded.
So also Kohler Hyundai and Kohler
Speak of the
Toyota.
devil.
Comfort Systems of Duluth, Mike Regan at the Christensen Group Insurance. Blackwoods Group, including their locations in Proctor and in Two Harbors, their main location on London Road, and, of course, Tavern on the Hill. And it was kind of funny. We were talking about the different ones, and Brian said, you remember the one you spend all your money at? Oh, yes, Tavern on the Hill. Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Assisted Living Locators. You can reach them at www.assistedlivinglocators.org/Duluth. Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Advantage Element Screen Printing, ABS Auto Solutions, and Brian, later in the show, I got a story for you about ABS Auto Solutions. And Arola Architecture Studio. I finished with them because, hey, where would we be?
I was going to say, they are the OG. We've given a lot of thank yous. We kind of started the show with the Academy Award acceptance speech today. So thank you so much to everybody involved. Arola Architecture Studio, they were the first to get involved. Nick Stoltman, you're going to try to get involved. Let's try another microphone scenario for you.
Let's try this one.
And let's see that one fail as well.
Still no.
Something else. I'll keep working.
All right, so the technological gaffes don't pertain to you and I. So it can be you and I until further notice. It's getting that third person on that might prove to be a challenge today.
You know how stressed you and I would be at this moment if we couldn't get one of the microphones to work? Oh, my gosh. You and I would be like trying to talk like this because we're more focused on getting the third mic to work. Thank goodness for Nick Stoltman this morning.
No question about that. So we've got two mics working. We're working on a third. Thankfully, we don't have to go all the way to 7, but 7 is going to be the magic number for much of today. 7th anniversary for the Northland Sports Page. We debuted back in November of 2017, and it's been 7 great years.
That's crazy.
And a lot of people say there's no better 2 words in the world of sports than Game 7. So usually we rack our brains for how can we come up with an entertaining opening topic. This one kind of lent itself to the occasion, and it's pretty easy because it's stuff you and I like to talk about anyway. So Game 7's the best of all time will be our conversation piece to start the show today. But I venture to say this. We can talk about the ones of all time, and we can talk about sports markets all over the nation, what have you. But you don't have to go very far out of Minnesota to take a look at a hell of a lot of good Game 7s.
Oh, my gosh, you're right. Minnesota's had our share, haven't we? I mean, just think about this year with the Wild. Game 7, I think that Kirill got a goal or two even. Oh, wait, you're talking about serious end-of-the-season Game 7. Sorry.
Right, I was going to say, regular season Game 7 for the Vikes wasn't a good one because 5-1 came to 5-2, but honestly,
that was a Rams game, man. We can't talk about that.
Right, but if you look at Game 7s, I mean, the headliner, number 1 with a bullet, is 91.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the Twins over the Braves 1-0. Jack Morris with a legendary pitching performance.
Got him in the Hall of Fame.
That I will say will never be matched.
Yeah,
you will not see a 10-inning performance, much less a 10-inning complete game shutout. 10 innings from a starter, that just doesn't happen. You can say that these days 7 innings from a starter in a World Series just doesn't happen.
Here I thought you were going to say with Rocco that might be 3 starts.
Right.
to get to 10 innings.
And with some of the rookies they had out there in September, it was.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Yeah, that's the big one, and it's not just. I mean, Morris obviously was the reason for the season for that Game 7, but think of all the other players that were on that team to make things happen. Puckett was amazing. We've talked about Gene Larkin before driving in the World Series winning run. Dan Gladden coming in with the capital V all the way in. Like
the greatest broken bat double ever to get there first.
That game brought so many people to the next level. So without that game, Dan Gladden is not in the Minnesota Twins Ring of Honor. Morris isn't in the Hall of Fame. Like he would be Tommy Johnny, right? He'd have the 280 wins and an ERA about 4, and boy, he was really good. But that game is the one to put him in the Hall of Fame. And it's kind of why I asked you about the Grand Slam in Game 1 of this World Series. Did that put Freddie Freeman in the Hall? And the answer, what you guys said, was no, because he's got to do a little more. This World Series...
Well, wait a minute. Caveat. We didn't say no because he has to do a little bit more. It was Steve Petosha and I who said no. He was already probably there because Harold Baines exists. That was our answer.
That's true. That's one of the fun. You throw that online now, people are fighting back.
Right. The Hall of Fame standards changed considerably, but in Minnesota sports, if you made a Hall of Fame of games, that probably leads it as well.
Yep.
Maybe that's the fun we could have because there are so many good ones featuring Minnesota teams. Number 1 is easy. After that, how do you rank them? Because you could talk about the Game 7 that the Wolves just had with Denver. That was one of the best easily. The Wild have had memorable Game 7s. People forget that 1987, the World Series went 7. That was a weird game, but anytime you win in 7, it's a big deal.
Yep.
The Twins have lost in 7 games in 1965. Well, the other playoff losses, they didn't go that far.
Yeah, that's true.
They only would have played 7 if it was the best of 13, and they would have lost 7 in a row.
Yeah, no, the Game 7s in Minneapolis and for our sports teams have been good. And as you were talking about them, and I kind of just jumped in there real quick, how many of those have the Lynx had? I know they lost this last one, but they've won, the championships in the past in amazing Game 7s. And so, once again, Cheryl's teams, we tend to overlook them, right? But Cheryl's teams are the gold standard for a lot of this stuff.
I'm so glad it became clear that you stuttered over saying Cheryl because I wasn't sure what you said there at first. But yes, Cheryl Reeve in big elimination games, other than the officiating travesty that was this past season, has been amazing.
Amazing.
Again, ranking these is not that easy. Going sport by sport in terms of memorable, that part is easy. But when you go best to, I won't say worst, but best to also good, it's tough because I think Minnesota Wild fans out there are going, every single time we play the Avalanche, this is pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we've been fortunate against that team. It's funny, you talk about teams that seem to have the other team's number, right? And man, when it comes to the playoffs, we do pretty well against the Avalanche. But those 2 Game 7s were huge because it started to put some confidence in the fan base that this team is for real.
It allowed you and your wife to talk hockey.
But look at all the other games that have gone to Game 7 that that we've talked about over the years. Those Dodger A's series that we back when we were growing up, right? The different Game 7s that have just come. In the NHL it happens all the time. You get it in the NBA. Often those Game 7s, Jordan's shot with time running down for the win. All those different Game 7s, especially the like we're talking about, the nail biter ones, just kind of fit into the fabric of sport.
Absolutely. So the discussion of the day in honor of our 7th anniversary show is Game 7s themselves. And if you're just tuning in, and I am told we're back on the air now, I believe we got the Wi-Fi connection back here at Hoops Brewing. Come on down and join us again. We're enjoying some Saturday morning beer. I've got a raspberry wheat. Lots to choose from here at Hoops Brewing. So come on down to 325 South Lake Avenue in Duluth. We'll be here till noon. Of course, they open every Saturday at 11 anyway. But come on down and enjoy part of the show with us. Get an early start at one of the best breweries you'll ever be into. But Game 7s, those are some of the best games to ever be into. Of course, we led off with the Twins and Braves, the 1-0 thriller with Jack Morris logging those 10 innings. We morphed it into Wild and Colorado because not once but twice did they win a Game 7 thriller against that franchise because you had the Nino goal. I talk about that because we know your wife might be listening, and Nino's her guy, and he took care of it. That was the second one. The first one was Andrew Brunette ending Patrick Waugh's playing career, and probably the most memorable is that one because the Wild were still nobody in the NHL ranks because they were in their infancy as a franchise. We talked about some of the forgotten ones in that same run was getting by Vancouver. That didn't take as much. Getting to Game 7 obviously takes something, but Game 7 there wasn't a thrill. 1987 to me is always a big deal, Game 7, because a first World Series championship for the Twins. I was 8, very much etched in my memory, but that Game 7, one of the weirdest, because there were missed calls on both sides of the equation. The Twins obviously won, but it wasn't the same down-to-the-wire type stuff. It was, hey, they got the win. I still go back to the Timberwolves and what we just saw, because I know it was just to get to the Western Conference Finals. And I know you don't get anything for that, except for you get to live another series, which the Mavericks unfortunately took care of the Timberwolves. But that Game 7, we know Braves-Twins is 1. Are we sure Wolves-Nuggets, just from the feeling of that and that team being known for not doing much, is that number 2? For me, I think
it could very well be, because, again, they didn't just win. They came back from they were dead in the water. Like, that team shouldn't have come back against that team, right? That the Wolves team was on a roll, but the Denver team was the defending champions with the MVP. And when you're down by that much, it should be over. And instead, the Wolves just kept coming. They just kept coming, and they ended up winning that game, and that was special.
So when you look at Game 7s throughout the nation, throughout the sports landscape, if you will, where do you go? Because I believe it's Amazon Prime. I'm not sure because I've got every streaming service in the universe, but I believe it's Amazon Prime. It has a documentary right now simply called Game 7.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I took a look and I went, oh, I'd watch this. But I automatically took a look at it, and as a homer to the nth degree, Minnesota teams, I thought I'd watch this because a lot of it's got to be a retrospect on Twins Braves. Not even on there.
Yeah, that's not paying attention. You know, the one game that when you went and talked about not necessarily the championship game, but to get there, the game that comes to mind for me, do you remember when that Pirates team where Barry Bonds and Bonilla and Andy Van Slyke were on the precipice of doing some amazing things, but they had to get through that Braves juggernaut, and they were at the point of winning, and then the Braves, Sid Bream, who struggled with vertigo his whole career standing on third base, and Bonds makes a catch and throws a laser beam that Sid Bream beat by the...
Do you remember who got the hit?
No, I don't.
Francisco Cabrera, for Braves fans out there. He's kind of the Gene Larkin of, him.
But that really could have... I mean, that Pirates team was ready to take off, and with that run scored, that simple 7-game run scored, that was just kind of it. That Pittsburgh team just kind of fell apart after that. They talk about windows. Sid Bream in Game 7 slammed the window shut on everybody's fingers.
What about the undoing of Grady Little's managerial career? Because Aaron Boone, love him or hate him, he's a manager now that everybody knows, but he had a pretty big home run in Game 7 as well. It was Grady Little going with Pedro too long.
Yeah, and it's tough in games like that because after Morris, when you have a guy like Pedro who says he's continuing and he's ready to go, right? He's still ready to roll. Shoot, what do? You got top 5, top 8 pitcher of all time on the mound, and Morris not, 10 years earlier or 20 years earlier had done the same thing. So it's tough as a manager to take that guy out.
The other Game 7s, I think if you take a look at it, it's not as easy as you might think, because we talked about so many of these series that went 7, the fun happened before. We just mentioned Boston and the Yankees, and any Boston fans are going, yeah, but we beat them in 7 in the most memorable. You did, the most memorable series. Game 7, Johnny Damon's Grand Slam kind of went, well, this is over.
Yeah, this is over. One of the ones that came to mind, and we haven't talked the NBA much, and frankly, I'm not a huge LeBron fan, I like the guy more than I like the basketball player.
The year the Golden State blew the 3-1
The year
lead.
the Golden State blew the 3-1, and LeBron really changed the tide with that sprint back block from behind off the backboard. That one is unique just because of that.
Absolutely. So speaking of unique, we've got unique circumstances here at Hoops Brewing. We're going to find out if we can get other people on a mic here today. If not, you're going to have a lot of Dave Cook and myself. I'm Brian Prudhomme. But if you've been listening to this show for 7 years, you're used to a lot of us. Stick around. It's the Northland Sports Page at Hoops. We will be right back.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring a friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax on the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month.
Join a club near you. Offer ends November 13th.
See Home Club for details.
Maybe the best part of that intro music is they do count 1, 2, 3, 4,
they
5,
helped.
6, 7 before it starts. Counting each of the years for the Northland Sports Page, this is our 7th anniversary show. We believe we've got all the technical gaffes
I think the
figured
third
out.
mic is working.
Because I
Wow.
hear his voice. It's
My
Brian
goodness.
Prudhomme, it's Dave Cook, it's Nick Stoltman. Nick, you've had a morning. Good morning to you.
Hi.
Memories of Vikings training camp you
Little
mentioned,
bit,
where
yeah.
the internet connection just said, you know what, 7 years is long enough. I'll take some time
A
off.
little break.
Do you have any Game 7s that we missed? Because I know you were probably trying to listen, but trying to do an awful lot during the
Well, I
opening
think the
segment.
big one, and I heard you guys talking about it, I was trying to deal with everything else. Of course, the Twins Game 7. That's
Right.
the big one. So you guys did a very good job of covering that.
Well, and sometimes, again, I wonder if people realize that there were two. Because, again, the first one still has a special spot in my heart because it was
Sure.
first. But with all due respect to Frank Viola and company, 87's Game 7 on the national landscape doesn't compare.
One of my favorite Roy Smalley stories, though, that he's talked about. Remember, Viola started that game rough, and apparently he came into the dugout and threw his glove, and he said, "They're killing my changeup. I don't know what to do." And Roy Smalley pulled him aside and said, "You know what the word of that pitch is?" He said, "What, Roy?" And he gave him a couple of other words. And he said, "No, it's called changeup because you haven't thrown your fastball yet. Why don't you throw fastball for a little bit and maybe the changeup will work?" And sure enough, that changed immediately, just simply because another player had, the ability to, take the young starter aside and say, "Okay, so your number one pitch isn't working. Use the thing that they play off it." And he settled right down, and Game 7, away we go.
Speaking of settling down, it looks like technologically this show has settled down entirely. We settle down all the time thanks to our great sponsors. We're going to continue to give them love today. Of course, Hoops Brewing being number one today because that's where we are. Come on down and join us in the 11 o'clock hour. We do hope to play some sports and pop culture trivia. The prize, if you come down and play, will be gift cards to Hoops Brewing. So I'll get that one out of the way for you.
Yeah.
I'll also double down and mention Mount Royal Bottle Shop in conjunction with them. MountRoyalBottleShop.org. Go online, the promo code RADIO will get you 10% off Hoops products for your Saturday. But in honor of the 7-year anniversary, all week, 7% off Hoops product in the store, online, doesn't matter. So kudos to both of them. I'll let you take care of the rest.
Yeah, and because we're in the middle of something, Brian, this gives me the opportunity to talk about our little experience with ABS Auto Solutions. Over this whole last month, there's been the big, how did Dana get her car, what'd she get, all that stuff. Well, when you get a new car, and in her case, it's not brand new, it's new to her, right? But when you're up here, you want to make sure it's taken care of. You want to make sure that you limit the opportunities for rust. So ABS has been with us for, a couple months now, and I said, Dane, let's go to ABS and see what they'll do. And boy, oh boy, setting up the appointment, all that stuff we talked about last week. Well, this week we turned the car into them, right? And so the appointment, they have a drop box. We were able to drop it off the night before. The appointment was done just beautifully, right? The car was done by 4 o'clock. And when Dana came in, sometimes the ladies who are listening to us, they've gone into auto places and they feel like the girl, right? Because they're talking around them, they're talking over them, even if they know what they're talking about. And with Dana, they were talked to her like a normal person and made her feel real good about making that decision. The ABS was fantastic. Advantage Implement Screen Printing, Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Assisted Living Locators, you can reach them at www.assistedlivinglocators.org/Duluth. Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies. The Blackwoods Group, including their locations in Proctor and in Two Harbors, London Road, and then Tavern on the Hill. Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance. Comfort Systems of Duluth, Kohler Toyota, and Kohler Hyundai.
So once again, thank you again to the Kohlers, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai. Have some fun at Kohler Hyundai on your Sunday. They often tell me that as well. So there's lots of things about our sponsors, and it's an easy way to remember how to pronounce it. Hyundai rhymes with Sunday, yet Dave Cook loves to still say Hyundai because he's a fun guy.
I wrote Hyundai,
right.
And my son owns a Hyundai. You think I could remember how to say it.
You think, but you did mention a good thing about sponsors making us feel good about life. Our sponsor that always feels good about life and makes me feel that way too. He's here today. Part of our 7th anniversary, Dave Hoops. I want to hear from you because it's fun, but I also want to hear from you to make sure we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
That is Dave Hoops. Here he is.
Test 1, 2.
Live in his own establishment. Dave Hoops, it's good to see you. We talk to you every week. It's always better to see you in person.
I think it's great you guys are here. It's amazing. It's been 7 years. I don't really know how long I've been fortunate.
I would say
to be
6
hanging
and
out.
change of the 7 years. You've been a part of this for about as long as you could.
Yeah, I feel really lucky to be a part of it. How's the mic? Okay.
Very good, very good. The adjustments made on the fly. That's been the story of the 7 years and the story of the 7th anniversary show.
Yeah, the last 7 minutes.
Well, I always believe in just sliding in behind Ryan. He deserves all that love.
Ryan Arola was the OG. He is the OG, or the OG, as Dave has lamented now saying, because everyone else says it now too. Go ahead.
Well, and now you guys have this pretty magnificent stable of advertisers, many of who I, patronize.
You've been the backbone of, yes.
Yeah. Well, no, but I know a lot of these folks out in the community just like you guys do, so I hope it keeps on going for another 7 years.
Yeah, that's kind of been the point of the show, is to be very much community-driven, and I think our sponsorship family is. We certainly hope our content is. Being able to come here is. So come on down to Hoops Brewing, 325 South Lake Avenue in Canal Park. Great beer, some sports banter today. Again, in the 11 o'clock hour, if we've got contestants who are willing to play some live radio trivia, we've got some 7 related questions.
Yes, we do.
To give away a $70 gift card to your establishment as a prize. A lot you can do with a lot of great beers for $70 here.
It's very true, and you can spend an afternoon off of that. But it's actually
I've done
really,
that.
I'm enjoying this a lot, talking with you guys face to face. It's been phone for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm very used to that, but this is great.
It is a different appeal when you're live and looking at somebody and talking sports with them, because, again, we always make a big deal, and rightfully so, of your positivity. But I was thinking about this today before coming down. There is good reason for positivity around most of Minnesota pro sports right now. Obviously, we have it for high school and college because those are our local friends, and we always want to be positive for them. But it's pro sports that banter-wise, we're almost always, yeah, but this, and this. And we could do that. But as I look at even the Twins, because maybe your positivity is the pull ads are selling, and that's fine. But you look at the way the Vikings are playing. You look at the way the Wolves are playing. You look at certainly the way the Wild are playing. If you're not positive right now, there's a real issue.
Well, I appreciate it, what you're saying, and I think about this a lot because, I just don't wander down the street singing Kumbaya or
Right.
anything. But
No?
it's very easy for me to be positive because, honestly, I take losing fairly well. I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan.
Right.
It doesn't stick with me, and there's so much great sports in the landscape that I'm always excited about what I'm going to be watching next or thinking about. And I'm going to be right about the Vikings winning the Super Bowl because you're going to be right someday, right? So I'm getting more credit than I deserve. It's easy to be positive when you're thinking, okay, well, when Oregon wins this game tonight, or if they don't, well, then I'm going to watch Messi try to see if he can keep the MLS on his back tonight. And so this is all positive because I really enjoy it. Sports is like the only thing on TV that's not scripted.
Right.
Maybe. It depends on who you talk to.
I was going to say, some people will tell you it is, and Dave will still try to tell me that the WWE is a sport. So some of it
I
is.
told you it's scripted, but it is a sport. Like, you still have to be able to do the stuff.
That's fair. Speaking of being able to do the stuff, the Vikings have got to do some stuff. I got to segue off anything. You never know what he's going to say over 7 years. But the Vikings will visit Jacksonville. There's not a lot of good stuff going on for the Jaguars. Listening to the mothership, this station all week, there is almost no consternation about this game. And for me, that elevates it for me.
Yep.
This is a should win, not a must win, a should win. Can they? Will they?
Well, there's a few things here. Dave, I know, reads The Athletic. You probably do too. And one of the things they were talking about, which I've been talking about a lot, is this streak of wins I was predicting. And can we go 4-0 in November? This would be number 2.
With 3 of them on the road in a row starting tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they can win. But honestly, any team can beat any team. And this, look what Cleveland did to Baltimore a few weeks ago. And it's just... yes, we're going to win this game, and we're probably going to win it, I'm thinking maybe 28-14. I mean, like a solid win. I don't think JJ can be covered, and I think TJ is going to really rear his beautifully hairy head. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this goes because, again, on paper, and that's not where they play the game, but on paper, it's almost advantage Vikings everywhere that it could be. Now, if they finish drives, obviously your confidence increases, your ability to win the game increases. If drives stall out, you've got a new long snapper, you've got a new kicker. All of a sudden you're, 3 points is a gimme, is not.
No, that's very true. And the one thing that's we got to see the new left tackle play really good last week.
And he's going back to his old stomping grounds.
Right, but there's a flip side to that, and that is the strongest part of Jacksonville's team is their defensive ends. And they've played against Robinson his whole career as well. So it does scare, that pressure part scares me because I agree that they don't have anybody to cover JJ unless they can get to Darnold quick. And that's You and I think a lot like people aren't saying this is a trouble game, and you and I are both like, somebody's knocking on wood somewhere.
But to be fair, for me, that's not an inventive thought. I look at the Vikings schedule and I go, hey, look, they've got 17 troublesome games.
But think about this. How many people have you heard over the last week say, it's Mac Jones? Like we don't have to face Trevor Lawrence. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Please don't go too far in your dissertations on that. Spoiler alert, if I can speak English, but it'll come up as by yourself. So please don't tell me what your thought is. You do that a lot. I don't tell you about by yourself. Yet the topics tend to generate themselves. I want to talk a little bit about last week as well, because I captioned it on social media simply as this: ugly wins are still wins. That Colts game, style points don't matter, and it's a good thing because there weren't any, but they got to win. That's what they needed.
Exactly, and really, at the end of the day, that's really all we really care about. And even, that game on Thursday night was so much fun to watch.
My wallet would have appreciated the Bengals winning, but I won't say that because it's not legal.
My mouth was hanging open. I mean, what Jackson is doing is just unbelievable. But that defense cannot win the Super Bowl, right? And I'm digressing here, but really, I think that ugly wins or really exciting wins are the exact same thing, right?
They can be. There are some people that say, well, I'd rather play well and get beat than play terrible and win, and I don't understand that thought process at all, but I've heard it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The old Gump Worsley thing, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Well, I understand part of it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you want something to build on, and sometimes when you play well and lose, you certainly can build off that, and things will improve. But I'm not a believer in, well, you played poorly, but you won, so you're going to think you're going to get away with that week after week after week. If I'm a coach, I love the fact that my team makes some mistakes and still wins, because you want to be correcting, you want to be improving, you want to be winning. When you can do those in conjunction with one another, life's good.
It's a really good question for Vency later today. When you're a player and you haven't played well, but you still win, where's your head go?
No doubt about that. Speaking of Vency, Glenn, he will close the show again today, part of Drawing Lines. We will get him on the phone, even though we're here at Hoops Brewing in the brewery. Come on down. Again, 325 South Lake Avenue in Duluth. There's good beer on hand. Some folks are starting to trickle in and partake in it. Again, if you come down and want to play some on-air trivia, we've got a good one. All of them 7 themed today, and a chance to win $70 in gift cards to Hoops Brewing. Tell us what's on the menu. There's lots of good stuff.
Well, it's a fruit bonanza. I'm looking at that. It actually looks really tasty. The beautiful, slightly reddish, pinkish hue of the raspberry wheat.
It's my favorite.
I don't think Dave even had to wonder what that was.
No.
He looked at it and went, oh, it's Brian.
I think he looked at it and said, you know what, Brian's here and cherry ale's not out yet, neither is cranberry, so that's got to be raspberry.
Well, yeah, lots and lots of good fruit beers. And Isabel, our new brewer in the back with Casey, did a lot of work with the cranberry this week that will be coming out.
So it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, next week the cherries arrive from Door County from our friends at Sequist. And after that, we've got we're going to be starting to make some new beers. We've been kind of playing catch up and making our house beers and stuff. So we have a brand new batch of chili pepper went on yesterday, which to some people is exciting news. A brand new batch of pale ale, things like that. And then we're going to be, I mentioned last week, I think we're going to make a Belgian Saison, which is something we made year 1, and it's been not here. And I'm pretty excited about that. And then we're also going to be making some more wheat beers. One of my favorites is our smoked Hefeweizen. We don't talk about that much,
right?
But we'll be.
That's because we cater to your audience, and your audience, when you're talking right to me, is me. So we talk about the fruit beers, probably to a high degree, but they're so good.
Well, thank you. And here's what I want. It's not cold yet by Duluth standards, but it's getting a little bit chilly. And I was just thinking about this. We have Amber on and UK Pale on. These are really both hopped up, beefed up brown ales, right? But also Stout and Porter. It's fall weather drinking time, and we've got a bunch of them.
So there you go. There are the perfect reasons to head on down to Hoops Brewing. We're here until noon, again live today in honor of our 7th anniversary. There is a menu full of good beer. I am partaking in raspberry wheat as we speak. Judge me accordingly, but it is delicious. And again, we're going to play some trivia in just under an hour. Chance to win some gift cards to Hoops Brewing here as well. So have good beer and don't pay for it. That's a great combo. No question about that. But speaking of no question, that is not you today. You've got several for Dave Hoops again.
Yeah, I do, Dave. And you just brought one up that when you said you have a new brewer, I've hired a lot of people, over time. And I'm wondering, when you hire a new brewer into your establishment, what kind of things are you looking for? Are you looking for unique takes? Are you looking for their background, maybe their historical beers? What kind of things are you looking for with a new brewer?
It's a good question.
1-4-1.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about, even in the front of the house, it's always about attitude. but it's not as much customer service, obviously. Number one is an enthusiasm and a willingness to learn, and in some cases these people come in with a vast array of knowledge already. Number two, work ethic. Brewing is really, really hard dredge work sometimes. It's 65% cleaning. Number three, smarts, brains, quick on the uptake. And also, we're really, really looking for somebody that can creatively add to our process, because I really believe in collaborating with everybody. Casey, our head brewer, has been with me for 15, 16 years. Really fortunate. He's unbelievable. And so he has a lot of say in it as well. But really, I would really say somebody that's really willing to clean a lot of stuff, just to put it simply.
You know, Brian, I think that Isabella should be feeling pretty good about, herself now, because Dave just listed the reasons that they trust her.
I was going to say, that means she checked all the boxes.
Isabel.
If you ever want to know what your qualities are, just let him describe what he's looking for.
Absolutely.
If you already work here, you check all the boxes. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. All right. So, gentlemen, the NCAA just approved that the young pros from the CHL who've been paid to play are now eligible to come play college hockey. 2-point question. One, does that help college hockey? And two, now, is there any player at any level of sport that should not be able to come back and play college sports?
Oh, boy. Part one, yes, absolutely. I'm excited about it. It will be great to see some of the talent we don't get to see if they choose to come and play. I believe that's a great thing. Part two, I don't
think so, Dave.
No, I'm saying no. I mean, that's too difficult a question.
Wait, so you're going to say no, nobody should be able to not come back? You're going to say that everybody should have carte blanche to join college sports?
I do.
Ooh.
I think, why are you going to stop them?
I feel like once you've left, you cannot return if you've played professionally, just the rank change. I know it used to be if you've taken in an income, it's different. Now that's gone with NIL stuff. But I think if you've declared yourself as a professional, you shouldn't be able to come back. But obviously the CHL ruling changes that. But, boy, I don't know. I don't think you can open that up carte blanche. I think you're ruining a college sports landscape that in the minds of many is already ruined.
I agree. So
as far as does it help college hockey, I actually want to say yes too, but barely. And my reason is, even before all the COVID craziness with, people like Parker Fox playing, 8 years of college basketball, and I don't mind because he's starring for my favorite team. But even before that, college hockey was different because you had the juniors angle first. You've got guys that are freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, eligibility-wise, that are 24, 25 years old. So does it help? Minimally. They were getting that kind of help, I think, already.
You know who it helps? It helps Division III. Because now you've got a whole group of people that weren't coming and playing Division I, and so those borderline Division I guys now are going to be pushed back down. It's kind of the reverse of when, Linwood and Stonehenge and Augustana.
It's Stonehill. I said last week I wouldn't call him Stonehenge. I didn't. He did.
Anyways, when they became Division I hockey programs, and they took that talent away from Division III. Well, now I think you're going to get a new influx of Division III.
I'm hoping that Nick is looking for bump-up music, and he's going to find that Bob Dylan song, "Everybody Must Get Stoned."
All right. So, speaking of the Athletic, last week Scott Boras came out and said the best thing about a new Twins ownership is that when they come in, the first thing they're going to want to do is make a splash.
Yep.
Okay, as Minnesota fans, do you think that a new owner coming in to to own the Twins, are they going to make a splash? I mean, is it going to be a real splash, or are they going to say, hey, I was talking to Pitt, and the Pohleds don't spend anything, so what we're going to do is spend just a smidgen, or are they going to go for broke?
I think they're going to make a good decision. As far as even you can use the Wilfs as a nice example, they're going to make their team better. I really don't think that people are so shallow that we have to mention the word Soto and the Twins. Let's not do that. Okay.
Only if they get the rap Soto. Corey Kemp can tell you what that is. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think that they're going to commit to building a strong team and being competitive in a way that the Pohleds could never do with a straight face.
Okay, so the final question.
Wait, do I get to answer? Or
yes, I got one question I want to throw.
I can leave if you'd like.
No, go ahead.
All right,
go ahead.
I don't think we're going to know.
Go ahead.
Is actually my answer, because unfortunately I think what you're going to deal with in the initial phases is a lot of what we heard from the poll ads over the past couple of years. Well, we were in on this player and we just didn't get it. This time it might be a little more believable, but here's the thing. It's going to be brand new ownership, but it's still going to be the Twins. They don't know what kind of roster they're joining. There should be, in our minds, some allure to come here, but is there compared to the teams that we just saw in a pretty decent postseason, where I think they can try to be splashy and still get outbid. But again, if we hear that, that's going to be what we heard before. The question will be, is a big splash because of what we had in the poll ads going to be considered by us a big splash, and on the national landscape, it's a ripple?
All right, so my last question, and I'm going to start this one, Dave, because I have a purpose behind it. Yesterday, I sent out a gratitude letter specifically for my son, who spent the last 3 weeks nursing his father to health, right? But I didn't forget somebody.
You still got work to do.
I left somebody out specifically for this question for you. All right, so I need to, as a card-carrying member of the initial broadcast for the Northland Sports page, make sure that I express my gratitude to you for him. Brian Prudhomme makes this thing go. And over the last 3 weeks, over the 7 years, yes, that's a given. But over the last 3 weeks, he's taken on more and more and more on this show. He is the one also that made sure Pitt was there in case I couldn't make it. Well, at one point, I fell almost passed out during the show. And so, once again, I've said this before, the show doesn't go without Brian. The last 3 weeks, there isn't a chance that we would have gotten this off without Brian. So I am telling you, Dave Hoops, because he's here, how much gratitude I have for Brian there.
Okay.
Now that's public enough. Dave, tell me something that you're grateful for over the past bit.
Well, I can segue right into how grateful I am just on the side to the both of you for, first of all, coming to me and saying, would you like to advertise on our sports show? Based on, of course, our long-time knowledge with each other, especially with Brian, with my kids growing up. Well, yeah, obviously, and then you said, well, maybe you could come on.
Yeah, you seem to like sports. Want to talk about it?
Yeah, so I can't say enough good things about that. But no, I've got a lot of gratitude. Like right now, both my kids are home, which is really unusual. Finn got his wisdom teeth out yesterday, so he's home recovering. But I'm glad about that. I really love the holidays. I'm excited that they're coming. I'm glad the election's over.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. And I'm also I'm looking forward to continued better years coming after the COVID times and some rough stuff I've personally been through. So.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I don't know how to follow what you said about me. I appreciate that to a great deal. So the old adage, thank you for thanking me. This is fun. So this is opportunity, and I'm thankful for opportunities like this. I'm grateful to get to do this every week. I think to piggyback on it, I'm grateful for how we're treated. Not just by this place, not just by the people that are in here, but by the coaches of the teams that we cover. I don't think we've had a guest who I've said, hey, can you come on and talk sports with us, who said no. Who are you, this tiny show in Duluth, Minnesota that's on once a week? No, thank you. So that can be local folks, that can be PA, that can be Chad Greenway, that can be Vency, that can be Anthony LaPanta, that can be Lavelli Neal, that can be me name dropping. And yes, I am, but you know what? Because we can.
Yeah.
And it's because we've been treated so well. So it's all encompassing as an answer, but I'm grateful for opportunities. This gives us a ton.
Well, and as a 7th anniversary show, I'm going to challenge our listeners to do the same thing. Think about something today that, over the last bit that you're grateful for, and make sure that you grab the person who has helped you with that and acknowledge them, see them, and, say thank you for whatever it is. Because gratitude right now, especially like Dave said, after the election where maybe that's in a little thin supply,
right?
It's time to flex that.
I think it was very well said, though, that he's grateful that it's over, because no matter what side you felt should have won, could have won, or did win, and if you're happy or sad about it, it's over.
It's over.
Let's move on. Speaking of moving on, we got to do that, too. Let's take a break. The 7th anniversary show continues at Hoops Brewing. We'll be right back.
Miss Worldwide, let's celebrate. Yeah. I just wanna celebrate.
And welcome back to Hoops Brewing. The Northland Sports Page 7th anniversary show continues. Still plenty of time to come down, enjoy some delicious beer. Again, 325 South Lake Avenue. I've said that a lot. I hope, Dave Hoops, I'm getting your address correct, because otherwise I'm giving you the worst plug on planet Earth. But I want everybody to pack the place, because this is the place to be. It's my favorite place to have a beer. I said it. You talked about the election, and this is as far as I'm going to go with that topic, but I said it on social media this morning. How many times this week, regardless of reason, did you say, boy, I could use a beer? I said, come on down, let's have one today.
Yeah, exactly. I had to check and see if it was legal, but we were offering, a free beer for I voted stickers on Tuesday.
So I hope you came away with it was legal.
Yeah.
It is now. It is now.
Hopefully we didn't bring that up and the answer was the opposite.
No question about it. So it is time at this point in the Northland Sports Page show. We're going to play Buy or Sell. Speaking of buy or sell, we want you to buy everything that our sponsors are selling. Nobody reads it better, and you talked about the last 3 weeks with your limited availability. Nobody reads our sponsors better than Dave Cook. How do I know? I tried in the last 3 weeks. Go ahead.
Let's start with Arola Architecture Studio, the OG, the original, advertiser. That's OA.
That'd be a OA.
Yeah, that's a different thing. Mr. Arola kept us floating when nobody else could.
He was the life preserver, and then this guy came along shortly after.
And speaking of Hoops Brewing, the other day I was talking to somebody, and they said, "Hey, I hear Brian and Dave are going to be at Hoops Bar." And I stopped and I walked backwards, and I said,
"Not a bar.
It's not a bar. You need to come down here and see it." When we talk about the brewery, they have all the machinations behind us. But Dave has told us 100 times, it's all about the feel of the hall, and the games and the fact that, I wouldn't call it kid-friendly, but I would call it kid-available. And it's a place to just be, and that's – we had to put the kibosh on the whole bar thing because that's a different vibe.
I was going to say, don't call it a sports bar either. People have done that even with trying to give them an award for such title, and Dave will say that's not what I'm doing. You're right. It's all about the hall. You'll have a hall of a good time here.
ABS Auto Solutions, Advantage Emblem and Screen Printing, Kraus Heating and Cooling, your Carrier HVAC authorized dealer. Assisted Living Locators, www.assistedlivinglocators.org/Duluth. So Ma's thinking about a surgery. If you are in a situation where, your loved one's getting to that point and you're not quite sure what you're going to do with them, Assisted Living Locators is a godsend if you're looking for what's the next step for your mom or dad or friend or whatever. Make sure you take advantage of assistedlivinglocators.org/Duluth. Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, the Blackwoods Group, including Tavern on the Hill, their location on London Road in Two Harbors and in Proctor. Mike Regan at Christensen Group Insurance. Comfort Systems of Duluth, Kohler Toyota and Kohler Hyundai. Mount Royal Bottle Shop.
Mount Royal Bottle Shop, again, all kinds of promotions in conjunction with Hoops Brewing as well. 7% off the entire week of your Hoops products thanks to our 7th anniversary. But again, Saturdays are standalone as well. If you go online to mountroyalbottleshop.org, the online promo radio will get you 10% off your Hoops products for Saturdays, courtesy of the Northland Sports Page. That's about the only part of the sponsorship read that I do. Anybody who says, hey, you're the guy on the Northland Sports Page that talks the most, which I do get that a lot, you're probably right, but there's a reason why. When we take care of business, the Velvet Tones of Dave Cook does that part. But now I'm going to take care of some business as well. It is time to play buy or sell, and here's how it works. If you're new to the game, welcome, but this is still how it works. I'm going to give a statement for each of the 4 major sports leagues, MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL. If Dave agrees, he's going to say buy. If he disagrees, he's going to say sell. And either way, he's going to tell me why. And I got the shortcut there because both Daves are going to play.
Oh, very nice. It's good that you're hanging out, Dave.
Extra Dave.
Well, I think that we should start. Who do you want to start with, Dave? Should we start with, let's start with the Major League Baseballs.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right, Major League Baseball. Last week, if you recall, Dave Cook, Dave Hoops, you wouldn't because you weren't able to play last week. It's always fun when we do this in person because you get extra segments out of the deal. But last week, we talked about free agents to be for the Twins, and we laughed it off. We shrugged it off. We said, who are they going to miss? Probably nobody. The one debatable figure was Carlos Santana. He's won a Gold Glove. You still have a hole at first base. Buy or sell, you'd bring back Carlos Santana, not the guitarist, the first baseman.
I'm going to miss Max. Just for the record, I don't. You guys.
It's because you like German beer. That makes sense.
And he was born there. Obviously.
Yes,
exactly.
That was the joke.
Carlos, yeah, bring him back. He's not going to cost that much money. I mean,
it's so interesting, Brian. We've said it for as long as you and I visited. This state falls in love with people, and Carlos Santana is my age. I think that
not quite. He is mine almost, though.
I think that Carlos Santana, we should be super happy that he spent this year with us, and I think we shouldn't bring him back.
I'm going to buy that we should just barely, and I'm going to use Dave Cook's fantasy football team as to why. Not because your fantasy football team is winless, because I'm still paranoid about that because I haven't played you yet. I don't want to be the one guy that gets you in the win column. Yes, your number one pick is coming back. But tell the folks listening, your fantasy football team name is what?
The adult in the room.
Right. And if you look in the Minnesota Twins clubhouse, yes, Carlos Correa would be one. Pablo Lopez kind of one, but he's a younger guy. I think amongst guys that are healthy regularly, Carlos Santana may have to be that guy. I am all in favor of Jose Miranda getting a spot in his infield, and if first base is it, so be it. Or Royce isn't the world's greatest third baseman, doesn't want to play second. You want to turn him into a first baseman, be my guest. But these are if. You don't have an if when you have a Gold Glove first baseman coming back. I don't want to pay a lot for him. He's old, but the Twins don't pay a lot for anybody. If you can pull it off, do it.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think that the drop-off is coming, and if you've decided you love him and all of a sudden he is hitting like the most 42-year-old guys, you're in trouble.
Well, and the thing is, too, and I think you make a good point there, because we did love him, and he did have a nice season, but go back and look at the actual numbers. Are you in love with those numbers?
No, you should not be.
You should not be. Yeah. I'm in love with these numbers. 1 down, 3 to go.
All right, so Dave, where should we go?
Well, let's end with the NHL.
All right, so let's go with the National Basketball Association.
Excellent.
All right, National Basketball Association. The Timberwolves have been winning. They have looked inconsistent while winning, but you know what? They don't ask how, they ask if. And did the Timberwolves win? Yes, the last several times they've been out on the floor, they've done that. The Timberwolves' greatest attribute to me is their depth. But buy or sell this, and it feels funny saying it. Is it possible that this team is too deep?
I'll get to that in just a second. I've been watching every game. You know, it looks like they're probably going to win their next 3. They got double Portland's coming, so they'll be 9-3 here pretty quick.
Right. Portland looks like a JV team, by the way.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And they are so deep. But I was really going at this. So they're 3.5 points up on points. They're 2 points up on assists. The two-headed monster of the traded guys are bringing in just slightly more than Cat, although different defense and all that stuff. So, no, they are not too deep. And, you know, when Alexander comes in there and just, you know, in the fourth quarter starts finally hitting his threes, stuff like that, I think that we probably have arguably the deepest team in the league. So I'm going to say sell.
Okay, I like that, and I agree with the depth being maybe the deepest in the league, but that is where my question comes from. Is it possible that guys that need to be getting minutes aren't? I'll go to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy that.
Me too.
That we're too deep.
Yep. I'm wondering if we use the same example.
What a terrible problem, though, right? Oh, you got too
first
many guys
world problems. Isn't that the cool phrase these days?
Right. And by the way, I watched Portland a couple times against some different teams as well. They need a point guard. They're pretty talented. Ayton's good. Sharp is good. Scoot Henderson is good. They need who they need. They need Mike Conley.
Well, they need somebody to structure that offense. Yeah. It's a bunch of athletes that are just out of control in general, and every once in a while it goes in the bucket.
100%. Yeah. They just need a point guard to organize.
No. But who could we get? Because you're right. Because DiVincenzo is playing fine. And did you see Dillingham last night? Boy, he looked good.
But see, here's the thing. Dillingham.
That's where I'm going with this. Are you buying or selling?
I am buying that we're too deep, and I'm buying that we're too deep because look at like a Joe Ingles, who granted didn't play well, but is an NBA player. He might not sniff the court again this year.
Right, we were supposed to be fired up about him as the big acquisition until the trade happened because the Timberwolves didn't have the money to do anything else. And I'm not sure if he wasn't a buddy of Rudy Gobert that he's doing anything.
Right, but a guy like Luka Garza, who played pretty well at the end of last year, he's seeing 3 minutes.
Right.
Minot has played well enough that
played a little last night, early.
Yeah, he's starting to get minutes. But Dillingham and the other first-round draft pick from Illinois, Shannon might just disappear, right? And that's too bad. He should be, they say about Wallstead playing or Ogren playing in Iowa because they need to get minutes. He needs to be in Iowa getting minutes because he showed up in that Bulls game and his 1 minute of playing time, he had 4 points and a massive dunk and a steal, and you're not seeing that at all.
So you're buying that we're too deep?
I'm buying we're too deep
and
I'm
wasting
with you. Some of the youth.
Yeah, I'm with you just barely.
Fair.
Dillingham is my prime example, and it's because of where we got him. Remember the NBA draft this summer for Timberwolves fans was supposed to be, oh, yeah, that was tonight. We're not involved. But meanwhile, the Timberwolves finagled their way to what? The eighth pick in the thing itself, and that was Dillingham. So you think in that particular player that you've got the point guard of the future.
Yeah.
And Mike Conley, I love him. He's one of my top 3 favorite Timberwolves on this current roster. But Mike Conley, a little bit, starting to look old, finally. So you're wondering, are you grooming the point guard of the future yet? Not if he's getting 5 minutes a week. We're not talking 5 minutes a night. We're talking 5 minutes a week.
Yep.
Again, first world problem because I think this Timberwolves team has a great shot at going a long way. So I'm not sure that too deep can be a thing, but they have reasons to believe it's all by.
Yeah, no, all right. So next we said we're finishing with the Hockey League, so we're going to go with the National Football League.
All right. So Dave Hoops is Mr. Enthusiasm, especially when it comes to the purple. Dave Cook and I have already said we are the most guarded when it comes to enthusiasm when it comes to the purple. Mac Jones, very likely to play tomorrow. It's a reason I didn't want you guys to expand on your thoughts a segment ago. Because buy or sell, odds of a victory tomorrow might actually get worse with Mac Jones than they would with Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, I'll sell that, Dave. I'll just go ahead. I think Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Mac Jones. So I don't think Jacksonville will be better. So where I'm hesitating is that I think that if you listen to pundits everywhere, they're like, oh, the Vikes got this because of Mac Jones. You know, there's a period of time where Mac Jones wasn't too bad. I'm worried that the advantage Jacksonville will have is that we're going to overlook and minimize Mac Jones, and that's scary. But Jacksonville's not a better team with him there.
I like Mac Jones, so I'm excited that he's playing. I'm going to sell as well because Lawrence is a better quarterback. But I think it's great he's playing. It's interesting. He'll probably play fine. We're looking at KOC is also an optimist. He's not only super uber prepared. He's promote every single game as a possible loss that he's going to find a way to win. He's kind of like the super version of me. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Can you make a beer? He's no you.
Well, anyway, I'm glad Mac's playing. I want him to do well. I just don't have any scenario where they can win. Fair enough. So sell.
All right. So I'm going to sell too, but not as enthusiastically as both of you did because you mentioned the term preparation. And that's what I question going into this particular game because it's trending towards not playing, likely not going to play. I think we're going to find tomorrow morning that it's going to be official that he's not going to play, but there's still that glimmer of, I guess we'll call it hope if you're a Jaguars fan. So what are you asking the Vikings to prepare for? Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones? They're not the same. No. They're similar, but they're not the same. And then the other thing is we've always said, well, B-Flow is a tremendous upgrade, low bar from Ed Donatel. Now we're going to find out. Because if you think back to the last time that Mac Jones played the Vikings, he was in New England. It was Thanksgiving night. I think he went for 370 and a couple touchdowns. And you could argue easily, and you would win said argument, that the Jacksonville offense he's with now is worlds ahead of where that New England offense was. I still think that the Vikings should win this game, dare I say, with relative ease, and that's what scares the heck out of me because I don't say that about my favorite team on any given week.
Yeah, and Mac was in such a cluster in New England at the end there that, again, Dave, you like him, and we really don't know if he is the Mac Jones that we saw the first year when things were still okay, or if the guy at the end where things were just a disaster, and so was he.
I know we're going to wrap up with the National Hockey League, but speaking of hockey, I think we're going to find out if North Dakota fans like to play sports and pop culture trivia, because at 11:30 we're going to do that, and there's a chance to win a gift card to the establishment you just walked in. So if you'd like to have some good beer, which it looks like you're set to do, but not pay for it, we're going to play some trivia in about 20, 25 minutes if you guys would like to partake. That's called pulling the crowd in.
I saw that. All right, so let's finish with the Hockey League.
All right, so buy or sell this. The Minnesota Wild are off to a tremendous start. That's not the buy or sell. We're all buying. But the way that this kid is playing, I think we have to consider this. Buy or sell that Kirill Kaprizov has a real shot to win the MVP this year.
Sell.
Yeah, sadly, me too, but go ahead.
And it's not because I'm not as big of a fan as you guys are. It's because, it's early days. Just like when we were talking about with the Timberwolves, it's early days. I love this start. It's beautiful. In fact, and Winnipeg as well. I'm tuning into these teams on purpose just because of their early start.
Well, and Winnipeg could actually be Duluth and Hermantown with their roster anyway.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But Kirill is amazing. And right now, the only thing I'm wondering is if they can sign him. Is he going to win the MVP? No, but can he finish in the top 5, 3? Yeah. That's
So in that sense, I think if he ends up top 3, you could actually change to a little bit of a buy because that would be a real shot. What do you think, Dave Cook?
So I got burned by Brock Faber last year because he was the best rookie of the year, but, he got over sunshined by the guy in Chicago.
You're not even done yet, Namarty. Like, we hang out too often. My answer is going to be dumb because he's got it. Go ahead.
Kirill could be the best player in the league. He could, unless he sets some sort of ridiculous record, somebody on one coast or the other is getting it because they're going to be on TV more and people don't pay attention to Minneapolis. So that's my answer is he could be the best player in the NHL, and unless it is historic, he's not going to win it.
Well, before we get a text from Topher Davis correcting you because it doesn't matter that people don't pay attention to Minneapolis because the Wild play in St. Paul, I'm going to completely agree with what you just said because that's exactly the point that I was going to have. He could have the numbers. He could have the performance. The Wild could even go on a run where they start getting talked about more because if you look at the standings right now, they should be, but we're, 1/8 into the season.
Yep.
But I think you're right because you didn't get burnt by Brock Faber last year. Everybody who watched hockey did.
I was
Because
the one that stood on the table, remember?
But Brock should have won. You didn't get burned at all. Everybody who watched hockey did. You were correct. The pundits that decided it just didn't want to make it correct because he doesn't play on one of the coasts. He doesn't play for one of the teams that contended. And I do think, even though you just said it, and I know 7 years into this, that doesn't make for great radio, that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, it's really too bad. But if he sets a season for the ages, he'll win it. But that's the only way.
Speaking of a season for the ages, we've had 7 years worth of hopefully a show for the ages. It's our 7th anniversary special. Come on down to Hoops Brewing. Delicious beer is available. We got gift cards available if you want to play some trivia with us. That comes up in about 20 minutes. It's all going to be 7 related thanks to the 7th anniversary. We've been giving out grades, if you will, doing buy or sell. We're going to do it with the NFL. We're going to do some midterm grading of the season. Your MVP in the AFC, your MVP in the NFC, your biggest surprise, your biggest disappointment. Things like that. We talk about the halfway point of the NFL. We are the Northland Sports Page. We got a lot of North Dakota folks here enjoying us as well. Stick around. We'll be right back.